The morning air in Maigida was unusually quiet, as though the village itself was holding its breath. The first rays of sunlight painted the dusty roads, and the huge baobab tree cast long shadows across the small marketplace. Amina clutched her sketchbook as she walked, her steps light and deliberate. She had no idea that this morning would be different. As she rounded the corner near Baba Sule's shop, Amina froze. Hushed, urgent whispers drifted towards her. She bent down, her heart pounding in her chest, and looked around the crates stacked near the shop. 3 men, their faces partially covered with scarves, were loading sacks into a battered blue van. One of them, a rough-looking man, hurried them to be as fast as possible. Amina's heart beat faster as she realized she was witnessing a robbery. She hid behind the massive trunk of the baobab tree, pulling out her pencil and sketchbook with trembling hands, breathing fast as she began sketching the scene. Every detail, the leader's sharp figures, the bold patterns of another man's shirt, the sneaky way they moved, came to life on her page. But when one of them stopped to look around anxiously, his eyes scanning towards her hiding spot, her courage left her. She slammed her sketchbook shut and ran as fast as she could, hoping they didn't see her. The sound of her feet pounding loud in her ears because of the quiet of this particular morning. The village was buzzing with chatter by midday. Baba Sule, the kind shop owner who was like a grandfather to everyone, was devastated. His shop had been ransacked and the thieves had vanished without a trace. Villagers gathered under the shade of the baobab tree, their voices a mix of anger and worry. Amina stood in the crowd, clutching her sketchbook. Should she come forward with what she had seen? Musa, her older brother, was at the center of the group, speaking in his calm yet firm voice. "We can't let them get away with this," he said. Amina watching him closely. She admired his bravery, but doubt held onto her. What if revealing the sketches brought trouble? That evening, Amina was sitting alone in her room, flipping through her drawings. The faces she had captured stared back at her from the sketchbook. She felt a wave of unease. One of the men in her sketches looked strikingly familiar. She had seen him before, laughing with Musa and his best friend Emeka. A chilling thought crept into her mind. Could this man with the red scarf be who she thinks he is? Hi friends, subscribe, like, share and turn on notification bell so you won't miss any of our new storytelling videos. Musa noticed Amina's strange behavior the next morning. She was unusually quiet, her eyes looking around nervously. "What's wrong?" he asked, slightly pushing her shoulder as they ate. Amina hesitated. Finally, she handed him the sketchbook. "I saw them," she whispered. "The men who robbed Baba Sule's shop." Musa flipped through the sketches. When he reached the image of the red-scarfed man, he froze. This looks like Femi," he said quietly. Femi was Emeka's friend, someone who often came by to play football or joke around. "Are you sure, Amina?" Musa asked, his voice tense. "I think so," Amina said, her hands trembling. Musa sighed, running a hand through his hair. "This is serious," he said. "We need to tell someone." But Amina wasn't sure. What if she was wrong? What if accusing Femi brought trouble to their family? Doubts troubled her mind as Musa headed out, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Emeka showed up at their house that afternoon, but not as cheerful as he usually is. "Musa told me about the sketches," he said, his voice low. "You think Femi was involved?" Amina avoided his gaze, but Emeka continued. "Femi is like a brother to me. He would never do something like this." Amina's chest tightened. She didn't want to believe it either, but the scar on the man's eyebrow was too distinct to ignore. "I only drew what I saw," she said quietly. Emeka looked troubled. "There has to be another explanation," he insisted. "Femi's been helping his uncle on the farm every morning. He couldn't have been there." Musa frowned. "Then we need proof," he said. "If Femi is innocent, we'll find out. But if he's guilty, we can't just let this slide." Amina felt devastated. If this turned out badly, what would she do? She thought. Unable to gather her thoughts well, Amina decided to retrace her steps from that fateful morning. She returned to the scene of the robbery, her sketchbook held tightly to her chest. The area was quiet. Amina scanned the ground, hoping for a clue, when something shiny caught her eye. She bent down and picked up a small bracelet, its red and green beads glowing in the sunlight. She had seen this bracelet before on the wrist of one of the men she had sketched. But it wasn't on Femi, it was on the man who was dressed like Femi. If Femi wasn't the culprit, then who was? She stuffed the bracelet into her pocket and hurried home, her thoughts spinning with questions. Could this bracelet hold the key to uncovering the truth? At home, Amina showed the bracelet to Musa. His eyes widened as he inspected it. "I've seen this before," he said. "It belongs to Kabir." Kabir was a man who lived on the outskirts of the village, someone with a reputation for trouble. Emeka arrived just as they were leaving. Amina explained what she had found, and Emeka's face lit up with hope. "I told you Femi was innocent," he said. But Musa held up a hand. "We are not jumping into conclusions, we need to be sure." The three of them headed to the police station. The bracelet tucked securely in Musa's pocket. Amina felt a mix of fear and determination. She didn't know what they would find, but she was certain of one thing: the truth was within reach. The investigation began when the bracelet Amina found was handed to the police. Its distinctive red and green beads were immediately recognized by Officer Danladi, a veteran in the village. "This belongs to Kabir," he said with certainty. Kabir was well known in Maigida, not for his good deeds, but for his sly behavior and knack for stirring trouble. Meanwhile, word of Amina's sketches spread through the village. Some praised her bravery, while others doubted her story. Amina tried to block out the whispers, focusing instead on what she knew. Her sketches didn't lie. Days passed and the police uncovered a shocking truth. Kabir had been part of a group targeting small shops in the area, and the robbery at Babasule's store was just one of many. Kabir had set up Femi to throw suspicion off himself, which unraveled like a puzzle, each piece more shocking than the last. As the police dug deeper, they discovered that Kabir had been planning the robbery for weeks. He had carefully scouted Babasule's store, noting the times it was least crowded and identifying blind spots where he could not be seen. But what made his plan so devious was his decision to shift the blame onto Femi. Kabir knew Femi was a close friend of Emeka, who was well liked and respected in the village. Kabir banked on the fact that no one would believe Femi was capable of wrongdoing. The police discovered that on the morning of the robbery, Kabir had deliberately worn a shirt with a bold pattern similar to the one Femi often wore. To complete the illusion, Kabir had used a temporary scar drawn with charcoal to mimic the one on Femi's face, knowing it would mislead any potential witnesses. Kabir's plan was to manipulate anyone who might see him from a distance into thinking it was Femi at the scene. What truly added to the shock was Kabir's audacious use of Femi's name during the robbery. According to the testimony of an accomplice who was later apprehended, Kabir intentionally called out, "Femi, move faster," as he loaded the stolen goods into the van. This was designed to create a false trail if anyone overheard them. Amina, who had hidden behind the baobab tree, didn't hear due to the whispers, but it explained later why suspicions fell heavily on Femi. But Kabir's deceit didn't end there. The police found out that Kabir had planted small clues in the days leading up to the robbery. He had started taking items on credit from shop owners in the village and falsely attributing them to Femi. "Femi is my friend," he would say. "He'd pay later," Kabir had told one of the shopkeepers when borrowing electronics that were later found among the stolen goods. The shopkeeper, trusting Kabir's words, believed him. The turning point came when Officer Danladi tracked down the van used in the robbery. It was abandoned near a neighboring village, and inside, the police found a crumpled piece of paper with a rough plan of how to rob Babasule's shop and the escape route drafted on it. Alongside was a stick of charcoal, the very one Kabir had used to draw the fake scar. When Kabir was finally brought in for questioning, he maintained his innocence at first, looking around the room nervously. But when Amina's sketches were laid out before him, His composure cracked. The sketches were so accurate that Kabir couldn't deny his involvement. Still, his ego wouldn't let him go down without revealing his cleverness. He confessed with a mischievous look. Femi was just an easy scapegoat. The villagers were stunned when they learned the extent of Kabir's scheme. Kabir had orchestrated everything with precision, exploiting the trust people had in Femi. During the investigation, Kabir admitted that he had noticed Amina sketching around the village before. He assumed her drawings wouldn't be accurate enough to incriminate him. "I didn't think a little girl with a pencil could outsmart me," Kabir said. Femi, who had been down over the accusations, was deeply moved when the truth came out. He visited Amina's family to thank her personally. "You saved my name, Amina," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll never forget what you did for me." Musa too expressed his pride in his sister, embracing her tightly. As Kabir was taken away in handcuffs, the village erupted in a mix of relief and anger. The betrayal they felt towards Kabir was deep, but their admiration for Amina was even greater. Her bravery and determination had not only cleared Femi's name, but also exposed a dangerous criminal lurking amongst them. One of the nights, the villagers gathered to sing and dance. Amina stood quietly in a corner watching, her sketchbook in hand. Musa and Emeka joined her, their faces bright with relief and gratitude. "You did good, Amina," Musa said, ruffling her hair. Amina blushed, but her heart swelled with pride. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't just the quiet girl with the sketchbook. She was someone who could make a difference. The stars above Maigida village seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as those celebrating with her. As the village danced and sang, Amina opened her sketchbook to a blank page. She picked up her pencil, ready to draw. This time though, it wasn't the faces of thieves or the shadows of fear she captured. It was the faces of her family and the villagers dancing happily. The people who had stood by her and believed in her when it mattered the most.